So this is a quick one on some concerns that have been raised by the public concerning the supermajority of the NDC in Parliament. I think there's been some discussion around the fact that because of their supermajority after the 2024 parliamentary elections, they are in a better position to make some changes to Ghana's constitution. And of course, because they are politicians, the discussion has been around making those changes that will favor them going forward. One of the major issues that have also been discussed is centered around the fact that that is what people are saying, or what people are discussing about the fact that because of the current position of the NDC in Parliament, they are in a position to, change the term of office of the president to about 3 terms to enable the president-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to run for a third time in 2028. So I just decided to do this short one to shed some light on what the Constitution has to say about some of these changes. I think the discussion mainly is around Article 290 of Ghana's Constitution, which talks about entrenched position. So uh, Article 290 specifically deals with the amendment of entrenched provisions of the Constitution. So when you read the Constitution very well, this particular Article 290 makes mention of some 19 entrenched provisions in the Constitution, including Chapter 8, which centers around the executive arm of government. That also spells out the term of office of the president. Now, somebody might ask, what are entrenched provisions? So, I just want to do this quick read from the Oxford Constitutional Law Dictionary, and it indicates that in broad terms, legal entrenchment is frequently associated with constitutional rigidity. Constitutions are generally described as rigid or entrenched if the procedures needed to modify them is more, such as, for instance, special majorities, approval by the electorate, endorsement by other branches of government, and time intervals. So, just to paraphrase what this Oxford Constitutional Law Dictionary is indicating, it indicates that with entrenched clauses, of course, is changing it is a bit rigid. You need to go through a series of procedures to be able to amend those sections of the law or constitution. So the writers of the constitution, in their senses, knew that there are some very critical or important sections of the constitution which they needed to protect. And for that matter, to be able to make any changes to them, you would have to go through a series of procedures which include the supermajority approval. Of course, you also already know that every president, all other things being equal, per the 1992 Constitution, has 2 terms of 4 years each, and this is an entrenched provision in Ghana's Constitution. So what I'm basically saying is that the presidential terms of two, of which each is 4 years, is an entrenched constitution or part of the entrenched provisions that have been spelled under Article 290. Okay, so um, just to also mention the guidelines that have been given by Article 290 to undertake to make an amendment to whatever entrenched provision. This is what it says. A bill for the amendment of the entrenched provision shall be referred by the Speaker to the Council of State for its advice, and the Council of State shall render advice on the bill within 30 days after receiving it. You know, so even before Parliament discusses it, the Speaker of Parliament just has to mention it and then refer this particular bill of amendment to the Council of State for their review and suggestions. So um, after that, the bill shall be published in the Gazette, but shall not be introduced into Parliament until the expiry of 6 months after the publication in the Gazette. under this clause. So after the Council of State have looked at it and have reviewed it and then given their suggestions to the speaker, then what they have to do is to publish this in the Gazette. And after publishing, it's only after 6 months that it's been published and everybody has been made aware, the electors have been made aware that Parliament can table this bill in the Parliament House and then have a discussion around it. Yeah. So after the bill has been read the first time in Parliament, it shall not be proceeded with further unless it has been submitted to a referendum held throughout Ghana, and at least 40% of the persons, entitled to vote voted at the referendum, and at least 75% of the persons who voted cast their vote in favor of the passing of the bill. You get it? So after it's been published for 6 months, and the 6 months has expired now, everyone is aware of it. I'm sure um, during the time that it's been published, the media will discuss it. You know, these social media platforms will publish them, and everybody in the country will become aware of the proposed change by Parliament. You get it? Okay. So once that has been done, Parliament then goes ahead to read it in Parliament, and after reading it, they don't do anything further to it until they seek the consent of the public. That is where it becomes very dicey. So what they need to do is that a referendum would have to be held, right? And when the referendum is held throughout the country, at least 40% of the persons entitled to vote would have to vote at that referendum. So what this is basically saying is that with the recent elections that we had, there were around 18 million voters. You get it? So those are the people that are eligible to vote in Ghana, those 18 years and above, who have registered and are duly eligible to vote. Those that are eligible to vote that the constitution is making mention of. And um, throughout the referendum, which is also a form of voting, at least 40% of the persons would have to vote. So what does it mean? What this means is that with the recent election that we had, the turnout was, I think, around 60%, which of course is the lowest that has been recorded so far in the history of our elections. Um, but that is enough for a referendum, because what the constitution needs is a turnout of around 40%. So 40% would have of the total voters registered would have to, turn out to vote under this referendum. And then when out of this 40% that turn out to vote, at least 75% of the persons who voted must vote in favor of the passing of the bill. So, let's even round the people that voted for Mahama to around 60%. So, um, of the valid vote cast, and in this recent election, Mahama was, let's say, was able to get 60%. That's the highest he could go. I think I heard around 56, 57%. So it's not even up to 60%, but just to round it, those that are in favor of the NDC, which I suppose will vote in favor of this bill when it is presented to them in the referendum. About 56% of them voted for Mahama. So I doubt that NDC will be able to convince the remaining NPP people to come and vote in favor of this referendum in order for them to get to the 75% of the 40% that turned out to vote. That would be a Herculean task for the NDC to do. And I know that because this is a very political matter, no MPP person would support this agenda. So I don't really see this happening. So when 75% of the 40% turnout is recorded in favor of the passing of this bill in the referendum that is held, that is the only way the bill can be approved by Parliament, and then Parliament goes ahead to pass it. And then after the bill has been passed by Parliament, then the President assents his signature to the bill, and then it, it becomes, a successful amendment to the Constitution. So um, this 4 year term, which with this 2 term or 4 year term of the president that people are talking about, that the NDC having a supermajority in parliament will be able to change it, would not likely happen. I mean, people that are discussing it are bringing in what they call the non-entrenched provisions. So aside the 19 entrenched provisions that I indicated, which is spelled out in Article 290, almost all the other sections and chapters are non-entrenched provisions. So with non-entrenched provisions, after some of the few procedures have been have been undertaken, this doesn't require, a nationwide referendum. That only requires 2/3 of parliament voting in favor of, that particular bill. So that is where people are coming in and indicating that with NDC's, supermajority, they could easily vote in favor of some of these um, amendments to make the changes. But because the presidential term of office is, an entrenched provision, this 2/3 majority in parliament doesn't apply at all. So this is just a few things I wanted to pass by. So you can share this for others to also learn, so that when they are discussing some of these matters, they can also be up to speed what the constitution actually says about entrenched and non-entrenched provisions.